In this video, I'm going to go over some tips that will help you get back into shape. This video is for the person who hasn't been to the gym for a long time or worked out for a long time or maybe ever. So it's actually even more applicable to you if you've never been in any sort of shape or you've never done any exercise or running or anything like that, because the points I cover in this video, I would like to talk to somebody who has no real experience of exercise or the gym, and this type of person, I would think this video would benefit you the most. So I'll get started with my first point, and that is to stop living in the past. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I've heard from a few clients as well as witnessed myself the heartache and the terrible memories that cross-country brought to a lot of people when they're in school. I'm pretty sure that most schools did cross-country at some point, and the reason why cross-country sticks in the mind of a lot of people is because this is the only time that they were really forced to run. You had athletics in school, obviously, but you could sort of get away with that, I feel. People often just, did something like the javelin or the discus, or were very half-hearted in the way that they did the athletics. But cross-country, you were being watched, you were being timed. It was often in horrible conditions. There was rain, it was cold. Here's a typical example of an upset young child after a cross-country. And when people think of running or exercise, especially people, and this may apply to you, who have never since got involved in it after high school, well then your feelings about it are, I'm not a very good runner, just like I was never very good at cross-country. And this is, when you think about it, this is clearly ridiculous. You're an adult now. You're no longer being timed, watched, judged in a context of a competition for cross country. You can run at your own pace now, and you can stop when you like. You can take it easy, and people, I've found in my experience, just have this really bad memory that's stuck with them since school of the cross country. They felt inadequate. They were getting far slower times than the best kids, and they were being judged for it. They were being pushed and forced into it, which is never good. You never want to be forcing into anything that's always going to end badly. So the way I see it is, a lot of the cross country in school, it was with the best of intentions, but a lot of the time, in my experience, it certainly has put off a lot of people who have then gone into adulthood from getting involved in any type of exercise, because their experiences with cross-country, which, I'll repeat myself again, is the only form of running that a lot of people ever really took part in. So that's one that once you think about a little bit, you'll realise that I'm not a kid anymore, and it's not an excuse. I'm not having that because you weren't very good at cross-country, you can't run now. It's just not true, and I think you know that yourself if you give it any kind of thought. So the next point I'll move on to is body shaming. Now, this by some people may be seen as slightly controversial, but not at all in my opinion. Body shaming is not an excuse. Now, I'm fully aware that we have this culture of body shaming in terms of social media and these memes that we have, and there's a lot of trolls online that belittle people who try and get back into shape, who are really trying to better themselves. But I have two main points on this one, and my first point is that if you were going to let body shaming be an excuse to never get back into exercise and be fit again, well then you never are, because I'm sure that you yourself have never actually experienced body shaming. This is the main thing that I find. I find that most people, it's a fear that has been cultivated by the media and social media and everything that you see online, so that a lot of people have this picture in their mind that if they go to a gym or they go and work out, well then they're going to be judged negatively, when in fact the reality is that if you were working out, well then I definitely know myself, and if you were just to do a sample and ask people at random, they would say that it's in fact the opposite, and they would say that you were doing good and really congratulate you rather than belittle you or body shame you. The body shaming is in fact it's not really a truth, it's more of a troll type thing, and I think that to take it seriously and stop yourself from ever exercising again is a big shame, and it's definitely a mistake on your part. And like I said, my second point was mainly just the opposite is in fact the truth. If I was to see somebody out running who was very overweight, I would just think that's great, like that they're really trying to get back into shape and they're working hard, and couldn't be further from the truth that you're going to be body shamed if you go into a gym. Never have I seen body shaming in a gym. In a gym, everyone just gets on, does their own thing. There's no way that's going to happen to you. I've heard people say that, I was worried that when I went to the gym that I was going to get abuse, and it's all just this media, the social media, that has got into people's heads and built up this false perception of reality. So body shaming is not an excuse, and if you give this any kind of a go and you step outside your comfort zone, you'll realise for yourself that life is not the online world of memes, of silly memes and people and trolls. That's not the reality that you'll be stepping into if you go into a gym or you go for a run outside or whatever. So that's one that you should definitely take note of. Body shaming is certainly not an excuse. So my next point is find something that you can enjoy. Now, this is a big one, and again, this applies to people who, I'm aware that many people have never found exercise enjoyable in any kind of a way, and this is difficult for me to relate because I've always found sports enjoyable, and I think it's really sad that people go through their whole lives without ever realising how much joy they can get from exercise and activity. And I'm sure that even if you haven't been able to find something that you can enjoy in terms of sports and exercise, you're aware or you've heard of conclusive studies that prove that it massively reduces stress levels, and the endorphins that are given off when you do exercise bring enjoyment. And this is a point that I think is very important, because if you don't find something that you can enjoy, well then it really can become difficult to motivate yourself. Finding something you can enjoy is the ultimate motivator. So I would suggest, if you're really struggling, you don't want to go into something too skill level based. So perhaps if you don't feel comfortable playing football or hockey or netball or anything team related, and you want to do something individual, a good website for that would be meetup.com, www.meetup.com, and on there you can find a wide range of different sporting activities that you can do. These go from abseiling to rock climbing to power walking to like social running clubs where you could go at a very gentle pace. You can even do base jumping, but that is very extreme, and that's really there's a lot of different things that you can do with meetup.com. It provides social interaction, so the motivation for you to actually take part in the activity can also be a social motivation as well. So let's say, for example, you go running in a social club and you can run at a very gentle pace. Some of these running clubs are quite big, so they split down into different parts of people who are running faster times, all the way down to people who are really taking a very relaxed pace, and you can have a chat as you go around or whatever, and that can be a really nice way to introduce you back into doing exercise and a bit of a stepping stone of getting you into shape. So my next point is to understand if you carry on this way, you have a much higher risk of death. So this is a bit of a morbid point, and you might think, well, I'm not that interested in, I'm young and that's not the forefront of my mind. I'm really trying to get back into shape to lose weight. That might be for, let's say, a wedding, or you're trying to look good for a reunion or the summer or whatever. But the reality of it is that this, I know, is the most important point of all, because your health is so much more important than just looking good. And people clearly, you'll have heard that, you may have heard that heart disease has overtaken cancer as the number one killer, and that is because of the way people think in our culture. And that thinking is to treat the gym and exercise as more of a way of looking good and getting back into shape, which is very nice, of course, and is undoubtedly a benefit. But your main priority and motivator should be to be healthy. And that, for me, is just not at the forefront of people's minds enough. And that's why I've included it as a point here. If you're very overweight, if you're obese, and you're getting into your late 20s and then going into your 30s, well then you are increasing the risk every year of developing heart failure. And as you can see from this infographic here, the statistics don't bode well for you if you get heart failure. Why would you want to take that risk? For me, this is a priority. If you're overweight, forget looking good, just use the idea of being unwell, having a stroke, having a heart attack as the main motivator. And I know it's difficult because until it actually happens, well then it's almost not a reality for people. But that's what causes the problem. That's ultimately what causes the problem, because it's not until it happens to someone that they sort of take action. So I would say take action now. If you're overweight, you're obese, and you're starting to get a bit older, you'll get into your 30s, your 40s, whatever, it's really something that you should use as a motivator. So moving on from that, my next point would be to get outside and start running 1 mile per day. Now, you might say that there's no way you could run 1 mile, but let me put it like this. I'm fairly sure that you could walk 1 mile. Now, all you need to do to run 1 mile is think about it in terms of a slight increase from a walk. So just go a little bit faster on a walk and do that every day. Just jog it if you can. And if you get puffed out and you get tired, you can walk for the rest of the mile. So jog the mile, run the mile for the first amount of distance that you can. And then if you have to walk, you have to walk. That's fine. Just do this every day. If you do this every day, you'll get up to the point, it'll be very difficult at first to motivate yourself, but if you get up to the point after about 10 to 15 days and it becomes a habit, well then you'll feel bad for missing a day, and this will be a great way for you to get back into shape in general. And before you know it, you'll be running a mile so much quicker than when you first started. I've seen clients run, had a client not able to complete the mile. They had to walk a fair chunk of it, at least half of it, and it was only 3 weeks and they were so vastly improved. It was just a great achievement and just a great so it's a stepping stone. And once you're able to do that, because it really is a small goal to have, to be able to run a 1 mile per day, and by small goal I mean very achievable, that once you do achieve that and you get the good feeling of that achievement, well then you'll be able to move on to other things and get into even better shape. So no one's saying that you have to be a world champion, you have to run very fast, but if you can just get outside and run 1 mile per day, well then this on your own, well then this might also motivate you to join, say, a running club, because you might be a little bit intimidated, even if the running club have categories of people running at very slow paces, you still might feel a bit timid and a bit anxious about the situation. But if you've already run 1 mile per day on your own and you've done that for a good few weeks and you've got comfortable with that, you can really use that as a stepping stone to then join a running club and then go on and perhaps join a gym or find other ways, slightly more adventurous ways of getting into shape. So that was it for this video. I am a personal trainer. If you would like to contact me, perhaps I could tailor some kind of plan around yourself getting back into shape. I do running with clients. You can click the link in the description on the video, and I hope you have a nice day.